Hey everybody, my name is Dowden from Dowden Production Academy. I'm here with Karanyi Sounds for their new synth called Polyscape Nova. It uses vector synthesis, which means it takes a combination of sounds and kind of blends them together to make different sounds. And the synth sounds really nice. It's great with pads and strings and some lead sounds, some bass sounds. It's great for melodic music. It's great for chill, deep music. You don't need much sound design knowledge to use this synth because it's very easy to just turn a bunch of different knobs inside the synth. They're labeled for you to make it pretty easy, and experimentation is definitely recommended to get a very wide, basically endless array of sounds just by turning different knobs, choosing different presets and different source sounds. So here are some presets first that you can take a listen to get a feel for how the synth actually sounds. And then I'm going to do a synth overview explaining the different settings as well as making a sound basically from scratch. So let's go ahead and jump into that. If you want to download this synth at any point, just click the link in the description below. So this is Polyscape Nova. In the middle, we have this fader that you can go back and forth, and doing so will blend in the A, B sound engines and the C or D sound engines like this. So the more to the left you go, the less of C, D you will hear. So I'll go ahead and play that. So you can see that by going further to the left, I'm blending into the A and B, and then further to the right is blending into C and D. And we can change what A, B, C, and D are by going into the different modules here. So I can see here that I have Matrix Grand is my A, Frog Vox is my B, Modular is my C, and Stringer is my D audio engine here. And then I can choose each of the individual modules, and I'm able to change them quite a bit inside of each of them. It's like working with 4 individual little mini synths that are pretty easy to use, and I can blend those all together with the different volume amounts here, so I can turn them up and down. And then of course I can go back into the morph and fade them back and forth here. You can choose some different presets here. So I have the core library. We can go into all these different presets, which I already showed you some of them earlier in the video, but I'm just going to choose a random one here. Let's just choose Tenant. This is a really cool one. I really enjoy this one. We can close this here, change this to Tenant. Very like Rufus the Soul type sound. So you can see now that these have changed. This is now Blur, Protons, Kinabalu, and Protons again, but the volume on the Protons is down on both of them. So we're not actually hearing anything from the Protons. If I turn on, if I press the keys and bring up this volume, now we hear the Protons. can even just turn these down just to hear what the Proton sounds like. So you can already hear and see how much versatility this has, because I can dial in as much volume as I want on each of these and make just an endless amount of sounds. They all have a lot of similar variety of sounds, these lush, kind of almost old school, really, really warm, retro sounding audio engines that are layered up to give you that 4 different sounds that blend together. So they are, in a sense, pretty similar in that aspect, but they are very versatile as well when you can blend so many of them together. So now I want to go ahead and just check out the different settings inside of here. So this is, it looks the same on each of these. It's just a different preset sound sample that you can choose. So we can start with the 90s one here, and I'll turn these down just so we're hearing only the 90s. And I forgot to mention that there also is a sub here. So if you want to add some low end, you can just turn that up, and that changes from triangle to rectangle. So if you want a little bit of a softer one, you can use the triangle. If you want a bit of a more aggressive sub, you can use the rectangle. So now we have just the 90s here. Everything else is turned down all the way, and we just have in here, the sound is the 90s. Here's the gain knob. So I'll just go through every different setting we have here. The panning, pretty self-explanatory. Then I have some filtering here, so I can choose different types of filters by clicking on them. Here's the quality or the Q or the resonance. There's an LFO if you want to change around some of the LFO settings in here. You have your ADSR amounts here, so I can turn up the attack, decay, sustain, and then release. Here, you can change your octave, tuning, and the wow factor is like a detuning wobbling effect, almost like a chorus. Your tone is like a bit of a filter as well. It's just going to make things sharper or duller. And then over here we have some really cool effects that are going to really shape the sound to sound really lush and big and interesting. So first we have the dimension. It's just going to make it feel nice and wide. So I'll put these all down first. And let's take a listen again. So already sounding a lot less interesting, especially if you're wearing headphones or are on multiple speakers that give you a lot of width. So I'll push up the dimension. Especially if we play a chord. Sounds really cool. Saturation is going to add a bit of grit and color to the sound. Just a little bit goes a long way with saturation sometimes. And last we have the phaser, which works a little bit more on some sounds than others, I find. But you can experiment with this definitely. It adds a lot of movement to the sound. Even just a little bit gives it that nice, subtle movement. Down here in these module effects, it actually controls, say, the rate of the phaser. So if I turn this up, and the depth up, filtering, put this back up, and then bring this up down. Slower rates are a little bit more subtle, and faster rates are going to be a bit more interesting, I guess, or like exciting. Next, we have the harmonic delay and the lusher. These sound really great. So harmonic delay is going to add in delay. Just really brightens up that sound, makes it so full. And lusher is really great. It just makes it feel really big, wide, just kind of like a big reverb. Just adds a lot of depth to the sound. And this is just one module. I can go in and add 4 modules altogether plus the sub. So let's just grab a random one here. We'll just go in order to an Aether. I'll turn down the 90s and we'll go up to the Aether. Sounds completely different. And I can push up the harmonic delay, the lusher, and the volume just on these dials here, and it controls the gain here for the volume, the delay here for the harmonic delay, and then the lusher, of course, for the lusher. So I'll just add this in. With that lusher, it just sounds so nice and big. Already sounds great. And I can now bring in my 90s synth again. Wow. So much fun to make these sounds because it's just basically layering up these already great sounding samples to just sound like a really unique sounding pad. So I can add in 2 more here, but let's just keep going through the synth overview and looking at the rest of the settings that we can work with. So I have the device effects here. This is your harmonic delay time, the stereo, imaging, and the feedback. So if I want more feedback or less feedback, low pass on the color of the this is all the lusher here now. So we have the color of the low pass, high pass, the quality of the filters, and then we have the density of the lusher. This one I like to play with as well. You can change the octave, mix. This is what I mean by you don't need to know sound design very much. You just grab these different knobs of these different modules and settings and play around with them. And if you even have no idea what you're doing, you basically can't mess this up. It sounds really nice no matter which settings you're changing here. So last we have the diffusion of the reverb, the dampening, the depth, the speed. And if none of this makes any sense to you, that's okay. Just focus on the size and the feedback. Sounds really interesting. Maybe a little bit too much, so I'll dial that back. So the inner one is the size and the outer one is going to be the feedback. Very, very cool. Going back to the regular preset again, just to hear how it sounds. Such a warm, nice sound. I love that. In the final tab here, we have the master settings. So I have a filter, low pass and high pass filter, some EQ, and you can see the symbols right here. So this is showing you the different filters, the different EQs, compression to kind of glue it together. And then I have what is really cool, this smart random effect here. It is really fun to play with. Basically, any of these buttons that you choose is going to randomize the synth. And this is super powerful because you can just create an endless supply, again, of different sounds, different presets, and then you can save them and use them in your future projects. Just get ideas and get inspiration from them. So basically, you just click on any of these. So I'll click sounds. That's going to change the sounds in the different modules. Try it again. Or like a trance lead. Let's try this one. Very like punchy, trancey, housey. And that's changing all of them too. So we have the hero, the thrill, organics, and this one is string machine. But of course, going back to the morph, we can see that, the mixer, we can see that I'm not actually turning up the volume out of these. So why don't I do that? Mix to taste. Maybe these need to be a bit more lush. You can turn that up. Pretty cool. Back to the master, let's change the ADSR. So it's not gonna be a pluck anymore. It's going to be still plucky, but much more sustained. Let's try it again. Now it's more of a string. That sounds really good. One more time. Okay, last time I did it, got this really big attack. Really beautiful lush pad. Let's try this with the other effect, the delay. Reverb. Definitely made the delay and reverb have a longer feedback and tail, and then the texture. Try it again, all three. I think it's hard to hear with the ADSR being so long, so let's try something else. There we go, perfect. Now I can change the delay and the reverb. Well, that reverb sounds way different. It's much brighter. Try it again. Even brighter. Shorter, thinner, the delay. Get that like slap back delay feeling. That sounds cool. And lastly, the texture. Very cool. And then, of course, I have the all button, which will swap them all out for something different. Sometimes you get ones that don't really work well. I mean, that one still sounds cool. Doesn't sound the best. That sounds pretty cool. We'll do one more. Very nice sound as well. And that, again, I can save this as a preset. So I can go up here and I can add and name this Phantom preset or Phantom Super Saw. Enter the new name and boom. Now we have Phantom Super Saw up here and I can use that as my own preset. It's just a great way to just add to your arsenal all these different presets and all these different settings. All this time we haven't even been blending them together, which is one of the greatest parts of the synth. So I've been using the randomize and just keeping this in the middle. And if I move this back and forth now, I can get totally different sounds. So let's go into the mixer. Maybe we want to turn So experimenting with this morph also gives me a lot of different preset settings within the preset just by changing this. Find the sweet spot of the different sounds. I don't like the bass on there, so I can turn that off. Yeah. And I forgot about this motion here. You can actually make the bass wobble a little bit. Turn all these down. It's a little bit of whoa, whoa. Very subtle, but it just adds another layer of complexity to the sound, making it have just a little bit of movement in the low end. Let's check out the preset library really quickly, and then we'll make one more sound together, starting basically from scratch using all of the different module sound engines and all of the effects. So we have the core library, we have keys, leads, soundscapes, which are really, I absolutely love for my music since I make more deep melodic music. Some extra bass stuff. Let's try some of these out. Let's see how these sound. Exorcism. Oh my goodness. That makes sense. So So some cool bass sounds. Let's go into some some soundscapes. Journey. Tranquility. That looks like a nice one. Leads. I like this one, the VHS tapes. It's cool. Reminds me of like sci-fi alien movie type sound. Then lastly, we have the keys. So there's the Phantom Super Sci made, the Matrix key, virtual guitar. Then we have some more of the epic pulses and the modulated. Very like psychedelic sounding, synth wavy. They have these rhythms in them. Very, very cool. So let's go ahead and go back into the presets. I'm going to turn everything down and start from basically scratch. So starting with the bass first, I'll have a little bit of bass here. Very, very simple. Let's go into A. So inside A, I'm going to choose one of my favorites here, Kinabalu, and turn the volume up. So the bass down a little bit. So that already sounds cool based on what I have going on here. The LFO already sounds great on there, that movement. It's got like a tremolo effect. Very, very cool. So I'll keep this one pretty like simple, this core sound. I want this to be like the strong mid presence. That sounds pretty good just as is. So I'll move on to the B. I'll turn that up a little bit actually. Going into B, I want to add, let's see, let's do the T2. This one's pretty bright, so maybe I'll throw some filter on there. A little bit of dimension on there. Oh yeah. Saturation. Already sounds so much better. Some lusher harmonic delay. Wow, it's so cool. Let's put some wow on there. So cool. I want to put a little bit of delay on the Kinabalu. There we go. And going into C now, and let's choose the granular, see how that sounds. And I'm going to go back into the morph and just push this over to the right so I hear only what's in C and D as I'm making this. Okay, so the granular is pretty sharp sounding. Maybe push that down an octave. Maybe I'll choose something else. Yeah, that actually works really well. It's gonna kind of beef up the T2 and the Kinabalu. And then, I wonder if I'm saying that right. Kinabalu, Kinabalu, I don't know. We'd like the filter up. Let's add some dimension. Yeah. So this one actually, you can change from saturation to drive. So I'm going to keep that as drive. I forgot to mention that earlier. Nice. Some harmonic delay and some lusher. And finally, I'll go into D, and I will turn that from hero, which I didn't even realize was already on here, and let's do choral. Push that octave up. Doesn't fit well with this. Let's go to Space Monk. That's pretty cool. It's a bit sharp, so I'll pull the tone down. Some lusher. Turn the drive down to saturation and bring that down. Dimension up. The phaser. More lusher. Okay, let's mix them all together now. So I'll go back into my morph and let's see how these blend together. I like that more. So powerful sounding. Yeah, I actually really like that because I hear that space mount coming through. Adding that nice little sizzle on top, movement, and it just has a lot of power. Like that would be a really good breakdown synth, like a powerful breakdown, or could be used as like some sort of bass line. Maybe go into the effects here, maybe add a little bit of density on the lusher. And on the master, I want to filter out a little bit. See how it sounds more like a bass. Pretty cool. Very nice. And that is basically it. If you want to download Polyscape Nova, click the link in the description below. Big thanks to Karanyi Sounds for having me do a demo of Polyscape Nova on their channel, and I'll see you all around.